Hey guys, Tommy and Monter Canine Solutions. Today I got with me my buddy Chris. He's a insurance broker. He is also a retired Army veteran. Chris and I have known each other about a year, a little over a year.
Yeah, a little over a year.
He does our insurance for our business. We're about to get him on our personal stuff too, just because why not? So Chris, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Thank you for your service.
My pleasure. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
So I retired from the military in 2019, got divorced, and we owned a home in Peevely, Missouri, and then moved to St. Charles. Went through a plethora of jobs. I worked for the St. Louis County Sheriff's Department for a while. Realized that's not what I wanted to do anymore. I was tired of carrying a gun, doing all that stuff. So found a job in with Aflac and selling supplemental insurance to businesses. Realized that was the hardest thing a salesperson could ever do
Because nobody thinks they need it.
Yeah, no one wants it, and everybody wants to cuss you out. So, got a job with Liberty Mutual. Went through their training program. Sold with Liberty Mutual for a while, and then after that, I realized that's not where I wanted to go. They kind of changed goals on me, and so I found a small brokerage in St. Peters, Missouri, where I am now, and that's where I am now.
So you kind of went from a franchise insurance company to brokering.
Yeah, Liberty is more of a large corporation, and then they started, I guess, essentially franchising out these, what was called Comparion. It was more of a sales desk job, and that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be personable with my clients. I wanted to be face-to-face with them. I don't want to be a person sitting behind a phone just answering back and forth. That's not what I want to do.
And
right?
not building the personal relationships
Exactly.
with people.
Insurance is all about personal relationships.
For sure.
Just like we're all business owners, and we want to be personable with our clients, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we all sell each other, or we sell ourselves at some point. And, being very personable with that client, that means a lot, right?
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
just selling a product, just knowing that I'm always going to be there to help you out if you have a claim, because that's what insurance is about. It's not about how much you can pay for it or how cheap or more expensive. It's about when that claim happens, is your agent and the carrier going to be there for you?
Right.
Because if not, you're just going to switch and you're going to go find somebody else.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Right. And who's gonna charge you less?
Exactly.
At that point, if that's all you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just that personable, relationship with that client. Yeah.
Which I guess when the tree fell on my truck the other day, or I guess a month ago.
Yeah.
My Facebook message, he was a little bit out of the norm for as a client to broker relationship. But at the same time, dude, like you got back and you're like, yeah, man, no worries, we'll get it taken care of. And within a few hours, like claim was filed, which I didn't have to freaking do. Mm-hmm. When I had USAA, I had to do everything and go out and take photos and, which the guy said, he was like, I could come out and do it for you, but, we have an app that you can just upload photos and we'll give you a preliminary, quote like that. I was like, cool. Because I live out in the middle of nowhere.
So the one thing about, a lot of people always ask me, why should I go with a broker? Why should I go with an agent versus going online?
For sure.
Right? And that's the reason, because I filed that claim.
Right.
I talked to the claims department. I took it all. I took everything already. Everything was taken care of. All you had to do is either contact or they contacted you.
Right.
And it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, on top of that, you can go outside of USAA or State Farm or whoever else. Like when you go to those big box, I call them big box companies, they're within their own house.
Yeah.
You can leave that to find the best program that fits that individual's needs.
Yeah. So one good thing is I don't work for anybody, right?
You work for me.
Exactly. I work for the client to find the best price and the best carrier.
For sure.
So it's not about me getting in trouble by State Farm or somebody yelling at me because I don't work for them.
Right.
Right. I'll just go to the next carrier because you don't want to work with me. Guess what? I'm going to go find somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's big, because, like those big box, those captive carriers, they only got one option.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
if they don't provide it, then they're done.
Yeah, it's it. That's all I got.
And that was kind of, so with our business, that was when we first started off doing the bite work and the protection stuff and the law enforcement. our options as far as carriers were very, very limited. Like I went to like State Farm, I think, for one of them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll cover your dog business, but you can't do protection training.
Yep.
You can't work with law enforcement. You can't do service dogs. There's too much liability involved." Well, that's part of my business. I'm not going to just chop off my ankle at my business because you don't want to cover it, right? So, we found a specific company originally that did it, but then a couple of years ago, the cost skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And then recently, after talking with you over the last year or so and having our conversations about everything, and then your, organization, the nonprofit, not the insurance, we became good friends.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, you know what? I'd rather support a friend that's doing what I need. So let's go.
Yeah.
And then even with like our initial conversation, which was a few months ago, to start the process of changing over our insurance, like you went through multiple different carriers to find what would actually work specifically for our company, between transportation needs, the type of dogs we train, the building that we're in, just everything. Like there's a lot to. It's not just like, okay, I'm Joe Schmo and I got a car.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts that need to be covered.
Yeah. So commercial insurance is way different, because if you get an auto quote, you can go online, or I can go into the system and spit it out within, probably 5 minutes.
Right.
Commercial insurance, we have to talk to the underwriters, because they're the ones that they're underwriting that risk.
Right.
So there's no online platform.
Right.
We have to fill out accord forms and then send it to the underwriter for them to verify that you own a business and verify it's a risk they want to take, because certain carriers aren't going to write your business.
No, absolutely.
And then certain business aren't going to.
And if they are, it's going to be skyrocketing price.
Or they're going to exclude a lot of things that you do, like State Farm. They're going to exclude, you can't do protection work. You can't even have dogs in your facility. They got to be outside, or you can't hold them overnight, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So another big thing is just, like I said, exclusions, right? Understanding what exclusions are in that policy. But our job as a broker is to field underwrite your risk, and we go through a whole process. I have a whole team that we can go and field underwrite that risk for the underwriter. So,
and that field was the packet you gave me to fill out, so that you guys can review that before it actually goes to the underwriter.
And I know your facility, so I've been there. But if I didn't know it, I would have gone out there and taken a look at it, because it's a huge risk. You do have a risk. So, and it's not just one. You have a property risk. You have a liability with dogs. You have just a general liability risk.
Right.
You have employees. So there's a huge risk that I would have gone out there and just looked, and just made sure that I know where to place your insurance.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on today was, I think, pet owners, business owners, obviously we all have insurance in one way or another, but I feel like pet owners miss a portion of their liability with bringing in dogs into their home, that they don't understand the potential of losing homeowners insurance or renters insurance if something happens with their dog.
Yep.
Joe Bryant was on the show last time. We were talking about rescue dogs and stuff like that, and I brought you up because we were talking. Somebody brought up a dog bite or something like that, and we had that conversation one time. Like, if a dog in your home bites somebody, or even if it's on the block or whatever, and you try to take it out in your homeowner's insurance, like, they're obligated to cover it because you have homeowner's insurance, but they're not obligated to keep you as a client anymore.
Yeah, so everybody knows the insurance market right now is what we call the hard market. Carriers are raising prices because they're not profitable. They're not insuring risks they don't want. And if they will insure it, it's going to be at a high premium to the customer.
For sure.
So when it comes to dogs and the liability, a lot of carriers in the process, they're going to ask, is there a history of a dog bite?
Right.
Or do you have an animal? And some carriers aren't even going to take, if you say that you have say a German Shepherd, right? Some carriers are going to say, nope, we don't want them.
Because they're a dangerous dog
and they're
list.
And they're on that list, right? German Shepherds aren't normally on the list. It's more like Doberman Pinschers, some boxers, some of those.
Pit bulls.
Yeah. Sometimes, I'm not saying they're all aggressive, but
sure,
they just are on the list, right? So they can decline that risk. What homeowners need to understand is when you purchase a dog, you are accepting a risk.
Right.
regardless of insurance or not, there is a risk of something happening, especially if it's a bigger dog.
Right.
So there are policies out there that you can get beside your homeowner's policy for just dog liability, for animal liability.
Yeah.
And that would cover you for that liability risk on that animal. It's all supplemental. It's all excess surplus lines. So it's not like Nationwide or these big carriers are going to provide this, but there are smaller carriers. And then if you provide that to the homeowner's insurance that you have and say, hey, I have a liability risk, we don't need to include this. Sometimes they'll work with you to be able to write that policy.
Right, to exclude that out of their policy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing is a lot of policies will exclude your animal already in the policy. They won't even ask the question. They just go ahead and exclude it. If you have an animal, they're not going to even pay anything for it because in the policy documents it says animal dog liability or whatever it talks about dog liability.
Right.
They're not going to pay for it. Right. So it comes back to understanding the policy.
What your actually policy says.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most people have never read through their policy documents. And a lot of insurance agents don't because it's boring, right?
Yeah,
you
just gave me a whole freaking binder for ours, and it's like, I don't really want to go through this whole thing.
Yeah. And you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
But
that's why I have you. I can call you.
Exactly. But when you have that claim, if you don't have me and you have that claim,
I have to do it.
You have to do it. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, am I covered?
Right.
So dogs are a liability.
For sure. Just like a car or having a house.
You're just
anything.
adding that other liability piece. So, I mean, people need to understand that there is a risk and you need to figure out how you insure that, how you have protection, right?
So like, let's say somebody had a big box, State Farm, USA, whatever. Could they come to you as a broker for that supplemental insurance? And would that violate something with their other insurance or?
No. So you can purchase just outside of that. If you have State Farm home insurance, but you don't want auto insurance with them, you can come to me and I can provide you auto insurance.
Nice.
It's the same way. So if you own a business and you have, let's say, general liability with State Farm or USA or one of these captive carriers, you can come to me and we can write your workman's comp.
Gotcha.
So we can piecemeal a lot of things. Yeah. Now, here's where it gets tricky. A lot of these carriers nowadays, they want the whole package. Right. They want everything because they want to control the whole risk. Yeah. And they want to make sure that you're doing right. And then if you have a loss on your general liability, and that's with me, but your State Farm policy had the work comp, there's kind of a conflict in trying to figure out who is going to pay.
Right.
So if you have everything together, it's easy.
Right.
The carrier is going to figure it out.
Write the check out to you.
Exactly.
Ready to go.
So, but you can piecemeal policies. I can write one. They can write another. And it's just like the dog liability. You can come to us and we can take a look and see if we can't write you a dog liability policy.
Yeah.
And then, vice versa.
So considering the average dog bite in the United States goes for anywhere between like $40,000 to $100,000, lawsuit wise, when we're looking at policies, because usually the policy, right, we're talking about a dollar value of what the policy is willing to pay out, correct? Is that what that pretty much comes down to?
Pretty much, yeah.
So for someone that's looking, maybe, after they watch this or whatever, and they want to say, hey, Chris, I got this dog. He is dog aggressive. He's, maybe he's human aggressive. Or maybe I just have a happy-go-lucky, Fido that, what if, when we're looking at coverages, like, is there a dollar number that we should be looking at? Is that a per case thing? Is there an average that we look at?
So on your homeowner's policy, we'll start there. There's a liability section, right? So it's personal liability. And what that is if anybody comes onto your property and they get injured, if you're having a party or whatever it is, that's that liability piece. If they try and sue you,
Gotcha.
You have to go to court, and those are the court costs. Those are the lawyer's fees. That's what the insurance carries. So it ranges from $100,000. It can go, most carriers max out at $500,000. Okay. So I always recommend at least $300,000 on your liability on your homeowner's policy, at least.
Yeah.
Even if you have a dog, you should probably go up to $500,000.
Right.
Now the other piece is you should get an umbrella policy, right? that will cover you up to $1 million. So once that liability piece is exhausted, once the insurance carrier says, I paid $500,000 in court costs, now you have an umbrella, and the umbrellas range from $1 million to $5 million normally.
And they can go picks up the slack or whatever over.
Yep. And that will help pay for court costs, lawyers' fees, medical appointments, stuff like that. That you're liable for.
Now, is that even if you're at fault, or is that only if you're not at fault?
So both.
Okay.
Yep. So if that liability piece picks up, that umbrella picks up, then that means that the rest is exhausted, and now it's covering the rest of it.
And that's the same thing. So would the umbrella be what you would consider like the supplemental thing for the dog? Like if the homeowners didn't cover it, or would that be something different?
So you'd have to make sure that umbrella policy covers
everything.
Dog bites, right? And there is hundreds of umbrella policies.
Gotcha.
You just got to make sure in the exclusions it doesn't say excluded dog bites.
Gotcha.
And that's just having a broker understanding what that means,
right,
and where that wording is.
So as a homeowner with a dog or multiple dogs, what would your recommendation be as a broker, and what should they have to cover their liability at a minimum? So
at a minimum, I would write on your homeowner's policy $300,000 liability, personal liability, and then I would write a $1 million umbrella policy.
And that would cover.
That should cover everything. Yep.
Okay. Do you have a dog?
I do, but my dog is the size of my hand.
Yeah.
And it's the most annoying thing in the world. So
is it your dog or is it your wife's dog?
No. They say it's my dog. It's not. I love dogs, but I hate this dog. This dog is so annoying. So I've had German Shepherds and Black Labs my whole entire life. When I got divorced, I had a black German Shepherd and then a golden black. It was like a mix German Shepherd. Beautiful dogs. I lost them in the divorce. But then when I got remarried, I got this little...
Which congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I know you were out of country and we didn't get the invite, but...
Well, it was a very
impromptu.
Small... Yeah, it was a very small group. But hey, we're having a reception.
Okay.
So you're invited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
But I lost what we were talking about.
Your dogs.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not worried. So my homeowner's policy, we have $300,000 worth of liability. We have $1 million umbrella.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this little dog biting. I don't see it happening. But my policies don't exclude dog bites. So if for some reason this dog decides that it's
backed in the corner by a kid and the dog's like, I need to get the hell out of here, and bites the kid.
Yep. The other piece is understanding that is a risk. And if you're doing something on your property, like a party, a celebration, and you have dogs, and you know there's a risk of that dog biting, move that dog to someplace else.
Right. That's why we crate train dogs.
Exactly. It's why you crate train dogs. And that I always did that.
Yeah.
Because it works perfect, right?
There's no risk if the dog can't get to people.
Exactly.
So
you just yourself exclude that risk.
Right.
And then you're covered.
Right. I mean, and then you have the freaks of nature, right? You have dogs that escape crates. You have, maybe you're in a backyard and someone hops the fence and, you can't control that.
Yeah.
And there's just like, what was that story years ago? Guy broke into someone's house over Christmas and cut himself on ornaments and then sued the homeowner for, I mean.
And he won.
Right. Yeah. And it's just stupid stuff like that. So there's always so regardless of how we try to minimize risk, there's always risk.
Yes.
Now whether your pocketbook can cover that risk or not is something that you have to look in the mirror and figure out yourself. So
I think most people, they don't realize that if something does happen, and regardless of the dog, regardless of whatever risk you have, if your house burns down and you're not fully covered, that's your money that you're going to cover everything.
Right.
And if you have $1 million in your pocket, then great. But the bank is still going to want their money.
Right.
If you have a loan, they're not going to say, "Oh, you're good.
It's wiped clean because it burned up."
Yeah, no. If you have a dog bite, and you don't have the right liability policy or the right umbrella or anything else, you're paying for lawyers' fees.
Right.
And everybody knows The lawyer's fees,
$2,000 retainers and everything else.
oh, you're going to be $100,000 is going to go just like that.
Blink of an eye.
In a liability case.
Especially present day, especially here. So in Missouri here, we used to be a one bite state where they gave you a freebie, right? Because most people, you don't know if your dog's aggressive. Some people, right?
Yeah.
Most people, they know that if their dog doesn't like their dog doesn't like people, but they decided, hey, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. If your dog's never bit anybody, then, that is your one. That went away a long time ago. Now they'll slam you. I've had clients like, it wasn't even the dog's fault. Dog bit somebody, and now they're in massive lawsuits, $100,000, $200,000, and they're like, yeah, if we just would have done some training to get some control of our dog, it never would have been an issue. Or if I would have created my dog or locked the door the dog was in the bedroom of, just simple things. And that's always been my big push for dog training, especially with dog reactive dogs or human reactive dogs. With the average lawsuit being between $400,000 and $100,000, $40,000 to $100,000, board and train's a few grand. That's a lot more digestible than having to shell out $100,000 for some kid's surgery because you lost control of your dog.
I always tell clients if I ask the question, do you have any dogs? And if it's a good sized dog where there's a risk, one thing that I ask is there any training involved? Because if you tell me there's some training, well, then maybe I can go to bat with this carrier, right? Maybe we can have a conversation with the underwriter. But if you have 4 pit bulls and there's no training,
and they're all pulled from pit rings where they're fighting dogs.
So I'm going to go ahead and tell you might want to find insurance elsewhere because I can't help you, right? And nor do I want to because that's a huge risk.
Right.
Just training your dog, understanding the liability portion of going to court is way more expensive than hiring somebody like you to train those dogs. Because
it's not, your insurance isn't just for them to write you a check to hand over to somebody else.
No.
Depending upon what happens, you might have to go stand in front of a judge and explain what happened.
Yeah.
And, if you didn't do your due diligence with training, and this is anything, car drive, if your job is driving a truck, there's a reason why they go to truck driving school, because if anything happens, they have to be able to justify that person was capable of doing what they were supposed to be doing. So, and the big question I get a lot too about training, the AKC CGC comes up all the time. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to do this with my dog because I heard, my homeowner's insurance will get a discount. And we've had a conversation in the past, and you said it's not really so prevalent anymore where they do that, but it builds the case that you have a good dog.
Yes.
Which some insurance companies may look at, but the bigger picture is if something happened that you've done your due diligence, you've taken the steps to have a good dog. So if you ever had to go to court for a lawsuit, it could potentially go more in your favor. Now, there's a lot of what ifs in there, obviously, and variables, but it can't hurt you. It can only help you.
Yeah, so a lot of carriers nowadays, they don't look at it. So Nationwide used to look at it at I think it's called the good dog or good animal something or other training, but they don't really look at it anymore. They just exclude. They just don't want any of those dogs. They just say no, we don't want it. But like you said, it's the bigger picture, right? So if you have to go to court and you're standing in front of the man and he's telling you you are liable for this dog bite, at least you have a chance and you can talk, hey, I've trained my dog. This is what I did, all these steps to make sure that we were safe. This person walked onto my property.
Right.
It tried to, that person tried to do whatever, maybe I had a sign in the yard that said, dogs or whatever, and they came to my animal. So then at least you have some talking points and you can come back. Because if you don't train your dog, if you don't, take all the steps to exclude those risks, now you're liable for everything. Yeah.
It all comes on you. It's
exactly.
all on your shoulders.
Exactly. And the insurance carrier is not going to stand behind you.
Right.
It's not a maintenance policy. Your insurance policy is not a maintenance policy on your home, your auto, your dog, or anything. It is there for the worst case scenario. And it sucks that it's so freaking expensive right now, but at least you have it. And then if you have to go to court, you're not paying out of pocket.
Right. Well, and if we think about it long term too, you're paying all this money out, and sometimes like our policy is not cheap, for the business at least, and it gives you the peace of mind that, heaven forbid something happens, you don't have to come up with $1 million.
Yes.
Because I don't know about you. I don't know how I would come up with $1 million on a snap if something happened.
I have it in my pocket. So, you're talking to the wrong person.
Well, when you feel me reaching in your pocket later, you'll know why. So let's talk about, so are you still doing the veteran organization?
I am. So I am the president of Combined Veteran Solutions. We are a nonprofit here in the St. Charles area. We are kind of designed to help veterans grow their business, right? So we hold a networking meeting once a month. We have professionals ranging from, insurance to financial advising to taxes to legal, pretty much any business that you're looking at getting into. We have somebody that can kind of coach you and help you towards that way. So we can do one-on-one coaching.
What's the mission? The mission of...
So it is to grow veteran-owned businesses in the local community. That's essentially what it is,
yep.
Right? There is a plethora of veteran nonprofits every 5 feet than you walk
right.
down the street,
yep.
right? So we wanted to do something different than just we're going to give back to TBI, we're going to give back to PTSD, because all that stuff's important. It is.
Absolutely, but there's 100 of those
exactly.
in every town that do something for those
yep.
specific things.
So what our idea is, there's plenty of networking meetings, but there's really none just for veterans, right?
Right.
So if I can connect you with 5 people that you're looking for, then 5 veterans, then you want to give back to your community, right? You want to give back to the veteran community, just like I do.
Right.
So I can connect you with 5 veterans in that community that you're looking for, and now you're connected.
Whether it's insurance, whether it's wealth management, whether it's building a business plan.
Yep. Anything that you possibly need in the business world, we can connect you with somebody else. And we have connections outside when it comes to getting a job. Any veteran that is in need, I can connect you with the correct person, right?
Yeah.
If it's the Kaufman Fund, if it's another nonprofit, usually our meetings have a guest speaker comes in and talks about their nonprofit, talks about, how they're helping to give back.
Or when I came out, just my business and my experience and, transitioning from Marine Corps to business owner and
yep.
things like that. So, to date, how many veterans have you guys worked with?
We've worked with about 6 so far.
And you guys are young as far as the organization goes. It's not even a year and 2 years old yet.
It's not 2 years old. Yeah. So obviously we're still trying to grow. We're going through growth pains just like everybody else. Yeah. It's a second business, with all of us, all the board members.
Right.
So we have to focus on this and our own business. Correct. So it gets a little choppy at times, but any veteran that needs anything, we're here for you, and then we can help you with pretty much anything you need. We can, especially in the veteran business world,
for sure.
We can connect anybody with anybody.
So as far as that stuff goes, what days do you still call it the mixer, or what is it?
So right now,
you guys even do that anymore?
No, we kind of shut down the mixer. There wasn't a lot of people coming.
Yeah, a lot of interest.
So we just kind of shut that down and push it off until later. So right now we're doing it once a month. It is the second Tuesday of every single month. Second Thursday of every single month. We do it at noon. So 11:30. It's changed so many damn times. Let me tell you. So, but we do it in St. Charles. It's at Fastest Labs in St. Charles. We were doing here in Wentzville. We would have the American Legion.
Yeah, that's the one I went to.
Yeah. We kind of closed that one down. That was the last Thursday of the month, I believe, and then that was it was just too much for us to handle.
Right.
So we just went to once a month right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great experience coming out and talking to the guys. It was kind of a small crowd for mine from what you said. There wasn't the normal people, but even just the connections that I made there, I'm pretty well established, not only just in the veteran community, but also, within my business and things like that. But it is always good to bounce ideas off of guys, some of them are a lot older, which is awesome because they have years of experience versus, I've been doing my own business since 2015 was the first, 2013 was when I first started my first business. And then this current business we've been in, we started in 2019. So So I've got a lot of experience, but when you talk about a guy, the one gentleman, I can't remember his name, he's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he can just rattle stuff off the top of his brain of things to try and do, and it's just like, holy moly.
Some of these people that are, that have owned businesses or currently own business that, there's a guy, I don't know if it's the same guy, and I can't remember his name now, but he owns a home inspection company. And he's been doing construction or home inspections for, I want to say, 45 years.
Right. So
and
he's seen it all.
Exactly. And he was a CB in the Navy before that. So he was in construction in the Navy.
Right.
The guy has more knowledge in his left toe about home inspections and construction than most people that are building, homes right now.
Right.
So like the wealth of knowledge these people have in owning their business or just in that industry is crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the kind of people that we want to come in to help coach.
Perfect. And that's for a veteran coming out of for we call it the fleet in the Marine Corps, but operation forces, they get their DD-214 and they're getting ready to, stretch their feet off the, the base for the first time as a civilian again. I mean, the transition pains, and you retired. I didn't retire, but it sucks because you just literally walked out without a team, and you've spent the last 4, 8, 10, 20 years having people watch your back 24/7.
Yep.
And then now you feel this overwhelming sense of being alone.
It is a real thing. And veterans, I mean, that's where there's two things that I've noticed with veterans getting out. One is a sense of purpose, right?
They don't have one at that point.
There is none.
Right. There's no mission.
And it takes time. A lot of people say, well, these veterans, they change jobs over and over and over and over again, or open this business and then open this business and open this business.
Because that's what we're used to in the military.
Exactly.
Mission.
Exactly. But it takes time for these veterans to find a purpose.
Yeah.
It does.
For sure.
And once they find it, you can't stop them. They're going to keep pushing no matter how hard it is.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep working until the mission's complete.
Or they're dead.
Or they, yeah, that's morbid, but yes. Or they die.
But that's kind of like, your organization is perfect though, because if we can get, what would be perfect for that would be getting you guys, so we call it TAPS in the Marine Corps, the Transition Assistance Program, something service. I don't know. But essentially, like, during your last 6 months of being active duty, you go through a week-long class. They teach you how to do resumes. They help you do your VA claims, kind of. But they're talking about like all the transitional stuff that you should be going through, all the different programs that are available. Troops to truckers, and helmets to hard hats, and like all this different stuff. Dude, if we can get your organization tied into that somehow, to where you guys or the people that they're meeting right as they're walking out with their DD-214 and have interviews with, the established business owners that you have in your program.
Yeah.
And then they can kind of get a feel for, okay, well, this potentially could be where I want to go, or this could be potentially where I want to go. And I don't know. That's long term, I guess. But my brain just started going 100 miles an hour again.
Oh, I'm gonna tell you, man, it's the same thing, because you start going down one path and you're like, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. We have a notebook, and it's just ideas, right, at where we want to be.
Yeah. And it's so hard because they can go so far.
Exactly.
But you can't do everybody. You really have to niche down.
I mean, we initially, when we started, we're like, we're gonna get into politics here in the St. Charles community and expand for veterans rights. We're like, we're gonna do that. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna become the biggest, and we're gonna get into the politics with the veteran community.
Right.
And that kind of went away. We're like, I don't want to deal with politics right now, because that's a whole other story. But yeah. So, but there's so many things we can do.
Yeah.
So it's gonna take time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we've had this conversation multiple times now. Like, if I could have had a coach, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when I got out of the service, even just as someone to come to that's already been through it.
Yep.
Whether PTSD, transition pains, starting a business, marriage, life, dogs, kids, like, someone just to go to and be like, hey, dude, I'm going through this. How much more fast track would the last 10 years have been?
I recently read a book, and the book talked about having a personal board of directors, right? And it's your life coaches, right? So if you take 4 of your best friends, not the ones that you went partying with and that are still
like
drinking,
legit people
that
right.
own businesses or doing good in whatever business they're in. If you say, hey, would you be interested in becoming my personal board of directors? And all that is hold me accountable.
100%.
Right? So I can come to you and say, here's my thought. What do you think of this?
Right.
Is this a good idea or not? And they tell you, no, you need to go pound sand. That's stupid. Or that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then you can bounce other ideas off of the other members. But they are essentially those coaches for your life.
Right.
And if you have that tight-knit group, like, you're unstoppable.
Oh, 100%. Well, and what's the saying? Your closest 5 people that you surround yourself with, you will be the next.
Yes.
So if you hang out with derelicts, you'll be the next.
Yes.
If you hang out with alcoholics, you will be the next. If you hang out with business owners, you will be the next business owner. If you hang out with millionaire and billionaires, which I'm still trying to figure out how to get into with those guys.
Yeah, me too.
But you'll be the next one.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, you have a lot to do with who you are, where you're going, and all that kind of stuff. But it also has a lot to do with who you surround yourself with, because you may not feel it, but they are 100% influencing what you do, how you do it, your decisions, all that kind of stuff. And I think going back towards the accountability thing, having your personal board of directors, when you're going through the shit, your world is this big.
Yeah.
Your blinders are on, your tunnel vision is up full blast, right? You can't see anything outside of the shit show that's in front of you. That board isn't in your shoes. They don't see your situation through the blinders. So they're going to be able to give you more pertinent, good information from the outside in to help you break through that. Which, I mean, I've gone through masterminds. I've had, dudes that are mentors of mine on the dog training side of things, that are business owners that I talk to, and when I feel like my entire world is crumbling or my business is about to, whatever, because I made a stupid choice, whether it was hiring the wrong employee and then having to make the hard choice of firing them, and my world is that big because I can't see past it. I give those dudes a call and they're like, dude, relax.
Yeah.
Your world's not ending. You know what you need to do. Just do it. And sometimes it's literally just somebody confirming that it is what you need to do.
Yep.
Or they smack you in the back of the head and say, don't do that. You won't recover from that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, having that person there, having that coach there is, instrumental, especially for dudes like us, like veterans, because we do take things very personal into the heart.
Yeah.
When we do something, we do it full. There's no half in for us.
Oh yeah.
Which can be devastating.
Detrimental.
Yeah, 100%.
Or it could be the opposite.
Yeah. Or it can be fantastic. But I don't care what industry you're in, there's struggles.
Yes.
Even when you're doing freaking fantastic, there's struggles. Whether it's interpersonal struggles between staff, employees, clients, whatever, or just how do I expand? Or, hey, maybe I don't want to expand. Maybe I just want to stay right here. There's going to be a struggle point that you haven't been through. Having that board or having just that coach say, hey, man, have you been through this yet? And if they haven't, they're still not in your shoes. So they're going to be able to give you a better direction outside of your perspective, which is huge.
Yeah.
So, so where do you go from here as far as the nonprofit? Like, what are your guys' next steps?
So right now we're in the works of possibly combining 2 networking groups into one.
Okay.
And then, so we'll split this off into a networking organization for veterans, like and
BNI or whatever.
Similar. Yep. It'll be very similar. Everybody has to be held accountable for passing referrals.
Yeah.
We did the whole nobody's accountable. You just come and go as you please, but it doesn't work.
No.
Right? There has to be some buy-in, and we have to give some actual validity back, right? We have to give some knowledge back. We have to say, yes, you're gonna get referrals. We're gonna teach you how. So we're working on that. And then the other side is once we get that built out a little bit better than what we have now, we're going to focus on building the coaching side, right? So that will be dedicated coaches. And if it's a life coach, a business coach, whatever it is, we'll have a certain amount of them, which we already have a couple.
Yeah.
And it'll be online. You can write a message to them, and then free of charge. We're not going to charge you anything if you're a veteran.
Yeah.
And then you can have that one-on-one coaching with that person.
Nice.
If a business owner or a potential business owner comes to me and say, hey, I want to open a used tire dentist and dog training school, I'm going to do it all. Well, okay, well, you're kind of stupid for doing all that, but I'm going to find you 3 coaches that are going to help you, right? You ain't going to get any insurance. I can tell you that right now.
Right.
But we can provide that coach for you. I will go out, and we had one success story. So we had a painter. He's a veteran, Army veteran, and he owns a painting company. And he said, my business is crumbling. I don't know what to do. Like my employees aren't staying around. Like I can't find more employees. I can't work on the business. I keep working in the business. And I said, I get it, man. So we sat down with him, the financial advisor, the tax guy, myself. We sat down with him and we said, what do you need from us?
Right.
And he laid out the things that are hard and that he couldn't figure out. So we linked him up with a coach. The guy that we linked him up with was a CEO of a painting company that owns 3 separate painting companies here in the St. Louis area. Great guy. And he, to this day, still coaches him at least once a month, free of charge.
Yeah.
And we found that coach for him. And now he's working on his business and not in his business. Right. And he's successful. Now he still has issues because that's just the way it works. If you own a business, you're never going to answer all the problems.
Always the next thing for everybody.
And we all know finding employees right now is literally one of the hardest things to do that are actually valid employees that are going to stick around. But when we talk to people about businesses and you in that spot where you can hire employees, it's a matter of what can you provide that employee to stick around. Right. Because if you're not providing anything but a paycheck,
you're not valuable to them.
You're not valuable, and they can go to the next person. Correct. So it's just teaching these business owners that it's not just, well, I'm giving you a paycheck.
Right.
No, you've got to provide some value for these people.
Yeah.
Right? And a home.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that comes down to business culture and things like that too, right? So, and some industries, insurance isn't a thing for health insurance, A lot of companies don't provide it because they're too low paid anyway and things like that. But the culture sometimes is what people truly need. Actually, I think most of the time that is what you need.
Yes, absolutely.
Because if you don't have a good company culture, you're never going to retain people.
Agreed.
I mean, I'm not going to go to work for somewhere that I dread to go to work for.
Absolutely.
And we just dealt with this recently. We cleared house 3 months ago. I think it was 3 months ago. I fired everyone because the culture had turned so toxic among my staff that I didn't want to go to work.
Yep.
I didn't want to go work dogs. I didn't want to go see my staff. I didn't even want to walk into the building I'm paying a lease on. And after talking to my business coach, they told me back in January to do this, but I held on. I was like, no, we can turn this around. These are good people. They're just going through a rough spot, and I fought, man, tooth and nail. And then finally it was one day I came in and I was just like, I can't do it anymore. So we liquidated everybody. Everybody got marching orders to walk out the door. And come to find out, it was good we did because they were stealing equipment, money. They weren't charging people. They were trying to steal clients of ours, just all this stuff. And so now, flash forward to today, we've reestablished our staff. We have an entire new staff. They're all going through training with me. The culture is fantastic. They love coming in. I got trainers that come in off hours because they just love being at the building.
That's awesome.
And that was the culture that I tried creating before. But all it takes is one, sour apple, and then that all bleeds over to everybody else. And then the next thing you know, everybody freaking hates you, or they hate what they're doing, or they're just using you to, get that paycheck because you're paying more than everybody else does, which was what we were doing. We were out paying everybody. And now the staff, like they're happy. They come in, they're all smiles, and we all bullshit and joke around like you should. It's kind of the same camaraderie as we would at the military. It's not as crude.
Yeah.
But they enjoy what they're doing. We enjoy coming in. We enjoy hanging out with them. I enjoy teaching them. We've done a couple of company get-togethers, barbecues, and bonfires, and stuff like that, which just then again just increases that company culture.
Yeah.
So I think company culture is massive. And this last year I paid for a business coach. He runs him and his wife own a multi-million-dollar dog training franchise in Canada. And this year they opened up a consulting agency business coach thing. So we paid them for the last 6 months to coach Kayla and I through what they did. And they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going through coaches prior to even doing this, like big names like the Elliott Group down in Arizona, and the guy who's created this huge online course program that you can do all your courses. I forget his name. But they're just the knowledge that they have because they've spent the money to pay for those coaches.
Yeah.
Coaches can change your life. And they changed ours, man. Like they gave us all their stuff, like everything from day one of how they're doing their businesses, their SOPs, their papers, like everything. Like they no holds barred. We're just like, this is what we do. Paper for paper for paper for paper. Take it, tweak it, do what you need to do. Here's our policies. Here's the different hats that our employees wear and their requirements, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, I thought I was good at business, but I'm not.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So for like the last 6 months, that's what we've been doing is we've been working with them to literally structure the business as a business.
Yeah.
And I thought we were doing really good in that mindset in that area because, we're making good money and we have good employees, but holy crap, to like actually create a book, an SOP book for every single position. Like, I'm a crane eater, dude.
I know.
That's
I get it.
that's like out there for me. But we did it, and like because we did it, our culture has increased. It's gotten better. Everybody's having fun, and it's where we want to be now.
I think the culture in a business it starts from the top, right? If the top, they don't want to be there, if they're hating their life because they're employees or whatever it may be, but it trickles down to all the employees, and then you start getting these sour apples, right?
I think it can go both ways.
It can,
because I think that's like, me, dude. I'm an energetic, happy-go-lucky person.
But you fixed it. You noticed that there was problems down below,
right?
And then you turn the switch on to say, I'm going to do better by running this business better. And then that you let everybody go, and then you start hiring good people,
right?
And now you fixed it from the top all the way down.
Right. So it has to get fixed from the top.
Yes.
I don't think it always starts at the top as far as the negativity.
No, the negativity can start anywhere. Right. It's like it's a bad seed someplace.
Correct.
Right. And it could trickle where it can go anywhere. Right. It can go all the way to the top. It can go through all the employees.
Right.
But I think that whatever problem is, it's got to start. It's got to be fixed from somewhere on the top,
right? To
say, nope, we're going to let everybody go.
Yep.
Or we're going to let this one person go, and we're going to fix these things so it doesn't happen again. Because, we're all human. We don't make mistakes.
Right.
Or we all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah. But, like, if somebody came to me and they said, I'm perfect, I never made a mistake before, I'd be like, hi, how are you doing? You're lying, and you need to go away, right?
You're not Jesus. Sorry, man.
Yeah, sorry, you're not Jesus. But, that's awesome that you guys did that.
And it's been huge. Like, the last few months since we did the shift, like, it's been dramatically better. Our clients are happy. Like, they're actually noticing difference.
That's awesome.
And it was, so, today was funny. So we had a go home lesson right before we came here, and it was a pretty dramatic one. It was a massive 100-pound mutt that has severe dog aggression issues. This was the dog's last chance to not be euthanized, and it was super cool to watch the trainer who was doing the lesson, who's a new trainer. She was a vet tech prior to this. She's only been working with us for about a month and a half now. the parents told her that this was so impressive, they never would have believed it. She started crying.
Wow.
So it was just really cool watching the dynamic, and then seeing for her specifically, because like I said, she's only been with us for a short time and she's not an established trainer. She's learned everything that she's been doing through us.
Yeah.
To see the fruits of her labor with this dog over the last month come to fruition and get that praise from the client.
That's awesome.
And then the whole staff jumped in and was like, yeah, dude, it was great. So like, I'm super happy with it.
Yeah.
So we're about out of time. Let's wrap this up. So who is the insurance broker that if people want to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way? I know you have a personal social media for you, but then you also have the brokerage firm. I think that's what they call it.
Yep.
So how do we get a hold of you for insurance?
So you can go to our website, which is Mathenia.com. We're located right here on the shirt, right here. So you can go to our website. You can request a quote through there. You can go to my Facebook page, the Vet Insurance Guy. You can find me.
The Vet Insurance Guy.
Guy. That's me.
Nice little redirect there.
Yeah. Right. LinkedIn also is a good place. You can connect with me there if you want to know. I always post good stuff on LinkedIn for some of the professionals out there, business owners. But you can always just DM me and ask me any questions you got. I take a different approach when it comes to a new client, right? If you're a client or not a client, I always look at you the same way, right? Before we close out here, I had a person to reach out to me, and they didn't want a quote. They already had insurance, but they had a question because they couldn't get a hold of their current broker. It happens a lot, right? Yeah. I just can't get a hold of them. Like, nobody's answering.
Right.
Well, I'll answer it for you. I'll figure it out. And all I had to do was make a phone call to the carrier and say, hey, this person's insurance wasn't canceled. It was supposed to be canceled, and we got it canceled for her. I'm not the broker. I didn't make $0 off that. But you know what? I helped that person out. And that's what matters. Yeah. Right. So
going back to the interpersonal relationships with what you want to do.
Exactly. So that person was referred to me just for help, and that's what I do. So if anybody has any questions over anything insurance, please reach out and I'll help.
Even if it's just to see if their policy will cover what they need it to cover.
Absolutely. I'll read over the policy for you. I'll tell you the exclusions. I do need a copy of the policy. I can't. I'm not a mind reader, so but I can look over it, and then I can kind of reword some of it because it's all in legal jargon. Right. So,
and then for our veterans out there that want to get connected, maybe they want to start a business, or maybe they're looking for someone to coach, mentor underneath or whatever. How do they get a hold of that?
So we also have a website. It's combinedveterans.org. Don't go to com. Don't type in CVS because that is, obviously everybody knows what CVS is. We're not that. But combinedveteransolutions.org. We have a Facebook page, is the same, Combined Veteran Solutions. We have a LinkedIn page, the same. But our information is on there. You can request information through our website. You can DM us, and then we'll get back with you as soon as we can.
Awesome. All right, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'll catch up soon.
Yeah. Thanks.